my face the whole time I'm watching this. This is way more graphic than I remember. All right, my husband Kyler and I, say hi.
Hello.
We go on a double date every month with two of our best friends, and the condition is that the date has to be an experience, right? So we've been to Hot Pot, we've been to Korean barbecue, we've been to fondue, we've been to a Brazilian steakhouse, and tonight, where are we at?
Medieval times.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kaylee, and going on my monthly date with the Hagglers is my favorite time of the entire month.
Hello, I am Cameron, and I am Kaylee's husband, and I'm excited for awesome fellowship and dinner tournament!
Where are our utensils? Are we more positively rooting for the Red Knight, or are we booing everybody else? We are booing everyone else.
Hi, I'm Roy. This is Studio 3A, and I'm joined by Anna.
Hi there.
This is a place for people who like to ask hard questions. Today, we're done with Job.
Oh,
Moving
thank
on.
God. If we could not
Real
ask hard
downer.
questions for a
Real
minute.
downer.
For real.
It works out for him in the end, though.
Just like real kind of Eeyore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk about a new series called This Is Us. The kind of the four things that define us as a community.
Yes.
That ideally define every community.
Ideally.
We're starting with belonging.
Yes.
And so you took a trip to medieval times, which we just saw.
Yeah, I
What
did.
was your vibe on the medieval times? What's the review?
So it's been a long time since I've been in medieval times. I would probably give it.
It was like medieval times when you did it before.
Yeah. Yes. I would probably give it like a 7 out of 10. The soup slapped.
Hey, no free ads. Medieval times. If you want to sponsor this program,
I've
it'll be a 10 out of 10 next time.
I have Googled how to make the soup since we went.
Wow.
The chicken, it's a bone-in chicken. I know that it's medieval times. They want
Right.
you to eat with your hands.
Yeah.
It's too much work in the dark for me to enjoy the chicken.
They don't want to have to wash silverware. Is really.
I don't blame them.
I don't want to wash silverware.
Yeah. But the show was great. There was a plot twist. There's a new show.
Wow.
If you've been in the last 10 years, it's a new show now. It was. I mean, I didn't see the twist come in. I was like,
Yeah.
there's a falcon. The boys love the falcon. I don't know if I got very much footage of that.
Falcon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tyler would like to own a falcon now.
I
Weird.
don't think that's really.
I don't know that that's in our
realistic.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, medieval times was great. We had the best time. Those were my friends Cam and Kaylee, and I'm really excited about this episode because I love talking about my people,
Mm-hmm.
and they're two of my people. So I thought we could bring a few photos and like share who our people are.
Yeah.
Okay, so my people, I have a little girl gang up here.
Girl gang.
Girl
Hey.
gang. On the left is my friend Dorian. She works here.
I'm familiar with her. I'm really liking the parking garage aesthetic.
Thank you. We also match on the reg.
Oh, you are matching.
Yeah, Dorian's one of my go-to gals. In the middle is Abby. Abby is just like, I don't know. She's just so colorful and happy and fun and smart and brilliant and like the biggest cheerleader.
You're both wearing headbands.
Yeah,
You
she's a headband queen.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
How do you know her?
I know her through seminary. So we went to seminary together. She was my first friend I made at SMU. I walked in and I said, "Oh my God, I regret everything."
anyone.
And she was cute and fun. And I said, "I'm going to be her friend." And so I kind of, because that's
You're
who
only
I
friends
am.
with cute people? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess, but
you're
all
an
of my friends are
aesthetic,
cute.
Biased person.
I guess.
No
All of my
ugly
friends are cute. No ugly friends. I have no
Wow.
ugly friends. And then the last is my little girl gang. That's Maddie and Kaylee. Kaylee went to Medieval Times. Maddie and I met at a boutique, actually, and have been friends ever since then. So, yeah, that's my little girl gang. But then I thought about it, and I was like, okay, when we talk about belonging, I kind of think of like a group of people. All of these people I hang out with separately. I don't have like a large group of friends.
Mm-hmm.
But the next picture is our young... Oh,
No.
nope. That's a surprise. But the next picture is our
That
young
one.
adults group. This is our young adults group. This is not inclusive of all of the young adults here at First Church.
Yeah.
But they're just our people. Kyler and I love hanging out with them. This is from our last fun event. And I love it. We have straight people, and we have queer people, and we have married people, and we
There
have
are
single
straight
people.
and queer people there?
Don't tell the church. I'm just
Stop
kidding.
it.
Our church is affirming and inclusive.
Oh, thank God I work here.
And they're just lovely. They're smart, and they care a lot about the world and each other and the church. And it's great.
I like
really
the
great.
plants.
Thanks. We went to Electric Shuffle where we played electric shuffleboard.
We were just talking about my wedding aesthetic.
Yeah.
How we decided that it's urban rustic.
Yes.
It's kind of urban rustic.
That
right
is. Maybe you should get married at Electric Shuffle.
there. Okay, I'll look into it. See
Okay.
if they do weddings.
Yeah. Well, I think you had a.
I had a photo which
Yeah.
we saw
Tell me
briefly.
about your friends.
So you have a lot of friends. I have a few friends
Yeah. You have.
because you're more cool and popular
That's.
and amazing than I am.
It's
So
not
these
true.
are my best friends from undergrad, and
Y'all might like baseball.
we do like baseball. We go every year in order to stay in touch. We go to a different baseball stadium that we haven't been to before. So this was the last year that the Oakland A's are playing in this stadium, which is a giant garbage can of a stadium.
Yeah.
And like this photo was taken not long after the game ended, and you can see how many fans
Are left. Like
not
there's
there.
there's nobody in the back.
Well, in that top section, you can't even sit up there because they don't even like. There's like we're never gonna sell those seats. Yeah. So those are actually like tarps over
Oh.
the seats.
Okay.
But yeah, like even on the back left, like there
Nobody's
nobody,
there.
nobody. Yeah. So I think there were 9,000 people total at the game when we were there. That said, the most amazing people at the game were my friends. So
Aw.
my friend Steven is an investment manager in LA.
Left or right?
Left.
Okay.
The tall one who's like 6'6".
Tall.
Yes. And Jimmy is a high school teacher in Atlanta.
Mhm.
And then that one's me. That I don't know if you've met me before.
Hi.
And then that's my friend Lucas, who is a lawyer in Chicago.
Oh my god.
So we have like two like high-powered people, and then Jimmy and I are like
serving the people.
serving the real salt of the earth, doing
They should love your example.
yes, and pay for us to do things.
I agree.
They should pay for us to do things.
Remind me their names.
Steven and Lucas should pay for Jimmy and I to do things.
I agree.
Thank you. And what we really like doing together is arguing.
Well, you have a lawyer, and are they two lawyers?
One lawyer, one investment manager,
Yeah.
who is like has a lot of very interesting political opinions. So
Okay.
he likes
So y'all
trying
just
to stump
argue.
us.
So you go to baseball stadiums once a year and you argue.
Very quickly on our on this trip, we were in a bar. It was like the first night we were together, and
Yeah.
we almost immediately got on the topic of Supreme Court decisions and the correct way to make a Supreme Court decision.
Oh, the process behind it.
Yes.
Okay.
And whether or not, yeah,
Yeah,
the
my friends and I
textualism
don't
of-
talk about that.
So that's why there's only 4 of us, because there are only 4 people interested in having those kinds of debates
In the world.
because we're very
Yeah.
weird.
I love that. That's so sweet.
But I, did,
Like,
I found my people. I found my
Yeah.
belonging. We all are very interested. We think very similarly. We're interested in the same thing.
well, and they're definitely different vibes. Like you can say that I have a lot, which maybe I do, but we like don't go on trips together,
Right.
But like you may have a tighter group that's like goes on trips all the
Yes.
time together. Like that's how y'all hang out, and I just like I think that shows the depth of belonging. Like
yes, it can be a lot of different things.
yeah, and like just because at least in number or in all the things, like nothing's ever actually comparable.
There's no right answer
Right.
to finding
Yeah.
your community.
Yeah.
But
so
it is important.
It is important. And that's what we're going to talk about now.
Yes.
I want to hear a poem that highlights some part of community. And then Mitchell's got a great word for us.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be back.
Peace, homes. Belonging by Rosemary Watola Tromer. And if it's true we are alone together, the way blades of grass are alone, but exist as a field. Sometimes I feel it, the green fuse that ignites us, the wild thrum that unites us, an inner hum that reminds us of our shared humanity. Just as 35 trillion red blood cells join in one body to become one blood, just as 136,000 notes make up one symphony. Alone as we are, our small voices weave into the one big conversation. Our actions are essential to the one infinite story of what it is to be alive. When we feel alone, we belong to the grand communion of those who sometimes feel alone. We are the dust that hopes, a rising of dust, a thrill of dust, the dust that dances in the light with all other dust, the dust that makes the world.
So in the late 1950s and into 1960s, there was this doctor in Roseto, Pennsylvania. He was beginning to notice something rather peculiar, that men between the ages of 55 and 64 were virtually having no heart health issues. They weren't having any heart attacks whatsoever. And so he was talking about this in 1961 with the head of medicine at the University of Oklahoma, Dr. Stuart Wolf. They're having this conversation over a couple of beers, and Dr. Wolf sort of perked up and said, well, let's do a couple studies on your town. This doesn't seem to be making a whole lot of sense. And so for the next several decades, Roseto, Pennsylvania was studied extensively. They found a control sister town, Bangor, Pennsylvania, similar size, similar demographics, and they dove into research. And they became rather perplexed because the men in Roseto, Pennsylvania, weren't doing anything extraordinary. In fact, the research papers say they were smoking unfiltered cigarettes, drinking wine like it was water. They weren't adhering to a Mediterranean diet. They were eating meatballs, sausages that had been fried in lard, and a lot of soft cheeses. They also were working in a slate quarry where they would get respiratory illnesses and seemingly get sick all the time because of their occupation, and yet they were not having heart attacks. Not only were the men not having heart attacks, men aged 64 and older were dying at 100% less rate than the national average. And Dr. Wolf concluded that the only thing that made sense, the only reason that these men were living longer, healthier lives, not because of their diet, not because they exercised, not because they were working less stressful jobs. It was because they had a deep, abiding sense of community. Mainly, the town was made up of Italian immigrants who essentially all lived the same life. They had similar houses. They had similar family structures. They weren't really trying to keep up with the Joneses. The elders in the town were sort of incorporated into daily life and revered. And there was a deep sense of community. The houses were really close together, and there was a sense of deep, abiding belonging. It's almost as if like we are created for this thing, right? To belong. We are designed to need it and to crave it. And when we experience it, we begin to flourish in some way. Of course, the study goes on to note that as this town of Rosetto, Pennsylvania, becomes more and more like any other American village, as they sort of expand their notion of wealth, and there becomes an increasing gap between the working class and those who are well off, as they start building larger homes that are farther apart, their death rates and heart attack rates return back to the national average. We are created to belong. And I think we know this. We intuitively feel this in some way, right? We want to fit in. We want to be known. We want to connect. We want to have a sense of community. And yet, we will do really anything to try to get that as quickly as possible. We'll look for quick fixes to that burning desire. We will try to find a shortcut to finding a place of belonging. And in doing so, we sort of miss the point, because we, out of fear or out of a need to sort of have that belonging happen as quickly as possible, we will adapt to our surroundings to try to fit in. We will limit expressing ourselves in the most fullness of ways. We will sort of limit ourselves from being authentically us so that we can feel like we belong. Brene Brown says this, though: true belonging never asks us to change who we are. True belonging requires us to be who we are. The church, I believe, must return to a place where we are fostering true belonging. For too long, too many churches require right belief and right behavior before folks feel like they, quote unquote, belong. But that isn't true belonging. In the Gospel of John, Jesus actually talks about this. He's having a conversation with his disciples, and they are feeling anxious and fearful because Jesus is getting closer and closer to his crucifixion. And so he has a conversation with them about the work of the Holy Spirit, about how God's presence and love will be with them forever. And then in chapter 15, Jesus says something rather peculiar. You did not choose me, I chose you. And because I chose you, it is a sign of God's love for you. And this love then activates or creates the space for you to not only love me, but also love one another. It's because of the freedom we have, right, given to us by God choosing us, that we have an ability then to be our authentic selves in the midst of community. Jesus goes on to refer to his disciples as friends, to highlight the friendship that they have with him and with one another. And all of this is in response to God moving towards us, inviting us to find a true, authentic place of belonging. So as we think about belonging and our role in both creating that for others and participating in community where we can truly belong, I'm beginning to wonder if that is not one of the 4 core functions of our church. Like, is this what we are really supposed to do, right? To foster, create spaces of authentic belonging for others. Before we require people to believe the right thing or behave the right way, what if churches invested in creating belonging so that folks can feel like they are seen and known, where folks can be their authentic self? Cultivating belonging and creating space for belonging, then, I think, is both a response to God's love for us and it's about having faith, right? It's about having faith that we are, in fact, loved by God, that the scripture is telling us the truth. And it requires faith that when we show up as our authentic self, we will be welcomed, accepted, and we'll find a place in our community. Creating space for belonging. That is the core function, a core function of our church. And this idea of finding belonging, well, our very lives, our health, may very well depend on it.
Okay, it's really good to have Mitchell back, first of all.
That's one opinion. It's an opinion I also share.
Okay.
To be clear.
Second of all, I just think it's nutty that like Midwest town operated like that.
I'm going to be honest. I'm a little skeptical. Just my nature. Like outlier stories like that are really kind of, usually it has to do with, it's like a game of telephone or some sort of data collection error.
Right.
You're like, why did nobody die in 100 years? It's like, oh, I accidentally was looking at the wrong column.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
people did die.
Okay, well, we could say that about things in the Bible, too. So, like, but that doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything.
Correct. To be clear, most of the stories in the Bible are probably not factually based.
But they are true.
Some of them are.
Well, they are true to us.
Yeah, some of them are BS.
So, like, with the town in Pennsylvania,
Yeah,
what does it
sorry.
mean to you?
What does it mean to me? I think it's especially important in today's time.
Mm-hmm.
I know the story was from a while ago, but to have connection, because it's so easy for us. Connection plays such an important role, as the story truthfully outlined. That it's so easy to be entertained by ourselves and to watch literally any television show or movie that we've ever wanted that was ever created.
Literally.
Like hanging out with people and being with other people is sometimes annoying and obnoxious.
Yeah.
And so we avoid doing it because we think of the annoying and obnoxious things and we go insular and do our own things. But we need that connection and that community to feel mentally healthy, emotionally healthy.
Okay, this is how the Lord is working in my life right now. You're saying all of those things, and I'm agreeing with him. And, you know, I've been in the Bravoverse for quite a while. I'm sucked in. I started reading Stassi Schroeder's book. I'm pointing to my phone because it's on Audible. And it's called Next Level Basic. And she talks about how, like, we should not be, be afraid to be basic AF, and how like it's fun to have fun, and like we shouldn't be afraid to like the things that we like because it makes us social and it like actually is connecting points and all of these things. And like if you told me 5 months ago that Stassi Schroeder would be my inspo for Studio 3A, I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to be like too cool for friendship.
Right. It's actually like very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be basic, do basic things.
Do things you enjoy.
Yeah.
With people you love who also enjoy the same things.
Yes.
So if you're watching today, we'd love to wrap up the show by hearing who your people are.
Yes.
And what you like to do together.
Yes.
And what are your plans this week? How are you going to have fun this week?
How do you create belonging in your life?
That's a much deeper
that's
question.
That's a little deeper than the question.
We're going to let you chew on that.
Chew on it.
And we'll be
Last
back.
time I pretended to chew. I'm not going to do that this time.
I appreciate that.
I'm not going to do that.
And we'll be back next week.
Sit down.